Tiny Housinʼ volume. I don't even know what volume it is, dude. I don't even know what it is. But did get a little bit of time to straighten things up today, tidy up the tiny house. As you can see, it's a little bit better than it was yesterday and the days before. It's pouring rain outside. It's been raining off and on all day. Temperature is in, I want to say, 60 or above. It's not perfect. I got a few dishes left to go through and clean out, some water bottles and whatnot. My water bottle supply is getting pretty nice. I've got 9 of those coffee bottles full of water now. I believe they're 48 ounces a piece. I've got 9 of those. So I got some good water storage. I'm working on trying to figure out how to get ice cubes in this small fridge and freezer and have a supply of those. I do have a timetable for the replacement of this crappy tankless water heater and the replacement of the crappy little fridge. Probably by the end of this month, that'll be taken care of. So I'm just doing the best that I can with what I have. That's my little heater right there. It's fine. It keeps this, all you got to do is keep this little room warm, and it does a fine job with that. Got to go get my hair did. That's getting out of control. Let me see, block that mug. Yeah, this hair is just, I don't know how many weeks it's been since the last time I got my hair cut. I try to go once every 6 weeks, and it seems to be by the time the 6-week mark gets here, I'm going crazy. Maybe I should cut it more often. There was a period of time I could without much problem. Right now I got to go find a new place because I moved. I haven't really found a place that is, the places are either expensive. I could go to Supercuts. I don't want to go to Supercuts. Supercuts sucks unless you get someone who's good. But there's a couple other places close by but they're going to be expensive. And a lot of these man salons that they have now are all like super trendy, and we'll give you beer while you're getting your hair cut. And it's like, yeah, I don't give a shit. I just want my hair cut. Back in Jamestown, I could get my hair cut. I found a good place right next to the library. I could get my hair cut for like $16. And I'd throw like a $10 for a tip. I could throw down $25 and get my hair cut, and that included a $9 or $10 tip. And the girl did a really good job. I went to Supercuts a couple times, got sick of that walk. The next time I had to get my hair cut, I just waited until this one salon was open right next door to the library. They have weird hours in Jamestown, but I was able to get my hair cut. $15 for a men's haircut. and then, you can leave a $10 tip. I was paying more at Supercuts than that. And so I got to find that place here in Houston. I got to find that place to get my hair cut, whatever the equivalent is here. Maybe not $15, but definitely don't want to spend $40 to $45 for a freaking men's haircut where you're in and out in 20 minutes or less. And I spent hours on the phone, or not on the phone, but on the online chat with T-Mobile today, with, Team India at T-Mobile. And rest assuredly, we will help. Rest assuredly, we will be helping you, and we will be resolving your issue. Long-time customer, we cared about your business. Did you try to turn off and turn on device? So once again, that fucking shit came right back. And so I've got a copy and paste script I can send to the online chat support. And I have no idea why But the internet works. That's the problem. Like, the thing works. And so I guess I'm just going to have to live with the fact that it constantly comes up with this message 25 times a day saying that the internet isn't working, because it's working. It's fine. But I'm sick and tired. I'm just kind of like, I'm already sick and tired of T-Mobile. They're the worst fucking company I've dealt with in terms of the three shitty phone companies. T-Mobile is by far the worst. AT&T was pretty bad. Verizon I haven't dealt with in such a long time that I guess I don't even really think I can count my experience with them anymore. All I'm going to say is I might have to go to the T-Mobile store and say what's happening and just say that these dingbats online, the tech support people at T-Mobile are by far the most useless pieces of shit on the face of the earth. I'll get into it in a bit. So this is what my little charging station looks like when it's all tidy and ready to be put away. I charged all of my bicycle gear last night. And if you've been watching these videos the last week or so, you've seen that this table is completely covered in wires and a helmet and lights and speakers and everything else being charged. When I'm done with it, all I do is wrap up the cable. First, I wrap up all the USB cables in a coil and tie a Velcro strap around those. Then I take it's a really long power cable for the power strip. I wrap that up in a coil and use a second Velcro strap to wrap not only the power cord, but I also attach it to the bundle of cables. And so now that's all just tidy and wrapped up. All the little chargers and everything that you see, these ones that don't have cables coming out, are specifically for the two lights that I have that plug directly into a USB port and don't need a cable. You could use an extension cable for those, but everything fits on this charger. Everything here has a device that it charges. And so I have 5 different lights, 2 speakers, and a mini keychain flashlight that I charge before I'm going to ride my bicycle in the dark. And so it's Tuesday morning right now, and I pulled all the items off the charger, all the devices. They're charged, they're ready to go. They're already packed in my backpack, waiting for Friday morning, which at some point Thursday night, since I'm organized now and I have lots of time for the next 3 days, at some point Thursday night, all the lights will be strapped and tied to my bicycle, attached to the bicycle. Everything will be ready to go for my 20-degree bicycle ride on Friday morning. I mean, the temperatures are getting ridiculous. Yeah, I know I'm not in Minnesota where it's negative 45 this week. And you couldn't pay me enough to live in Minnesota in the first place. I'd rather be homeless in Houston than rich in Minnesota. So take that for what it's worth. You literally could not pay me enough to live in a place like that. And I'll take my lumps here in Houston where the weather... But still, if you've ever had to ride your bicycle 20 miles when it's 20 degrees outside, especially if there's going to be a headwind, it's a miserable experience. It's miserable. And I don't even know if the warm weather gear that I have right now is going to be sufficient for 20 degrees at 20 miles. I really don't have a choice but to try it. But the next level to level up in the cold weather gear would be getting powered, heated cycling gloves and heated socks that charge with a USB charger and take a battery to keep your feet warm and your hands warm. But when I look into the price of those things are like, it's about $70-$80 for a pair of gloves, $70-$80 for a pair of heated socks. So for $150, I might be able to cycle down to, 0 degrees. Who knows? But 20 is going to be, I don't know. I guess I just picked the wrong winter to move to Houston because they're talking about how this winter has been the record coldest temperatures that Houston's ever seen. Multiple times throughout this winter. with periods of time in between. The first week, the first two times that I did the 20-mile commute to my job, it was 83 degrees out when I came home. I was in t-shirts and and pair of shorts. I didn't have to pack all kinds of extra stuff. But last week it was cold, down to as low as 34 degrees. And now they're saying this Friday, it's supposed to be 20 degrees when I leave, with a high maybe in the mid 30s. It's going to be miserable there and back. So I don't know. I'm kind of getting sick of this. If the weather was nicer, the ride wouldn't bother me. But in the bitter cold and 20 degrees, go out on a bicycle and go for a bike ride when it's, all you people that live in Minnesota that tell me I should be grateful that the weather is only 20 degrees instead of negative 45. When, summer comes to Minnesota and it's 20 degrees outside, go for a bicycle ride and tell me how you feel. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Adam. And there's no hashtag. It's tiny housing, tiny housing, tiny housing. Volume, I think it's 15. I don't know. But flying by the seat of my pants. But I had a nice conversation with one of my clients this morning. I've got 3 days off. Yesterday was more focused on cleaning up the tiny house, tiny cabin. You can see, I made it back to being nice and tidy again. Oops, I should probably close the lid on the old crapper here. Make it look a little bit more homely. And there we go. At least it's a short walk to the bathroom. And just, got everything nice and tidy again and just back to where it was, but a little better. One of my goals is that every day when I go to bed, whatever, I need to be able to say, okay, this place is better than it was the day before. And even the days where it was messy and unkept because I was coming back from my 40-mile bicycle commute and just literally just taking 4 steps in the door, dropping everything on the floor and being done with it for the day. I had some muddy shoe prints and just, mostly water bottles and dishes. No dirty dishes as much because I made a point not to cook anything or to do anything that would make dirty dishes for me to clean. I had, a knife and a cutting board. That was it. And so, but I had bottles piling up, bottles that had to be washed out and refilled with water, those kinds of things, and just random stuff that needed to be taken care of. And then there was some personal organization stuff on the computer that I had to sit down and do. But like updating my accounting software that I made my own accounting software with a tool called Notion. It's a database tool. It's not a code-only database like SQL Server or MySQL or something like that. That's a little bit too in-depth for what I need to do with this. But it's definitely it's definitely levels above something like Microsoft Access or your typical your database building tools for it's way above and beyond what you can do in an Excel spreadsheet or a Google spreadsheet. And it's nice, and I've been using it for a long time. There's a few little flaws compared to traditional accounting software. Being able to split a transaction into sub-transactions with categories is not something I can do yet, but I have ways around it. But I had to update that. It had been February 12th was the last time. February 12th was the last time I did it, and I hadn't done. January 30th or 31st was the last time. I think I did it on the 31st and made sure everything was reconciled up to date. And then on the 12th, it had almost been 2 weeks, but it was 2 weeks of pure chaos and several trips to Target. And trips to Target where I've got a receipt that totals up to over $100, but the stuff in the purchase spans across three categories, and I got to figure out. I'm trying to track what I spend. So like the three categories would be grocery, household items, and cycling equipment. That could all be on one receipt, and so I have to split it and figure out the sales tax splits for all of that stuff. And so there's a little bit. I have a spreadsheet to do that with, and it's not that hard, but it's tedious. Anyway, it took me 2 hours on the 12th to update all of my transactions into my accounting tool. And that includes automatic payments for software that I use for business, and just, other things, the rental car, giving cash to my friend for gas, stuff like that. Burger King, all those different things. And then I did it again yesterday, being, I think it was the 18th. So 6 days went by. So that only took about half an hour, maybe 45 minutes to do it. Now, if I keep up with this and don't buy as much crap, it could take 15 minutes to keep that thing up to date when I sit down to do it. But what it does is it generates charts at the end of the month. I can see exactly what I spent. And so there's a definite pattern emerging. When I first moved to Texas, I spent a lot of money. I burned through a serious amount of money in September to pay for the rental van, the gas, the mileage. Just the trip to get here cost a good chunk of money. Then I was forced to pay all of my fines from the day that the FBI drove a tank into my house. I had the money to pay them off, which left me without much in the bank, but I had to pay those off. Then I got a new job, and I had to go down and make sure that I could ride my bicycle to and from work. And so I had to go out and drop a wad of cash on bicycle equipment. I had to get a helmet, had to get a mini pump, all the little tools that you saw in my backpack, the toolkit, the tire levers, tubes, helmet, lock, probably a couple other things I'm not thinking of. Bike shoes were $160 or something like that. So all that added up to some serious money. And then I needed to get groceries. I wasn't, mooching off my friends. I was helping chip in when they would go to Costco and do the family grocery shopping. They would, split it with me, because we were all, munching off of that. But then I have my own personal groceries that I was buying. And so there was that. I had to buy a lot of clothes. I had to buy enough black jeans and some other things just to be able to go back and forth to this job. I had to buy a pair of sneakers. I didn't have a pair of sneakers. Didn't have any need for sneakers when I was homeless. So all these things happened in the first month I was in Texas, and it was a ton of money. Maybe not a ton of money if you're making money, but I'm not. So I'm on pace to make a whopping 25 grand here in 2025. 25 for 25, baby. So maybe that'll change. There's multiple avenues in front of me right now where that could significantly increase. Even that job that I was talking about a couple videos ago is still on the table. I did get in touch with the recruiter and found out why I got blown off, and it didn't have anything to do with a Google search on my name. It was other reasons. I'm not really holding my breath for that to turn into anything, but at the same time, it's not off the table. So fine, it's still in the in process column of the job tracker. Plus, I've got freelance clients. I've got work to do. But anyway, things are moving along, and it's a lot of stress. There's just a lot of juggling of things, but I've got the tiny house set up. I want to swap out this chair for a different chair. things like that. But there's really not, I have a second monitor coming today for my laptop so that I have extra screen space. It'll help me be a little bit faster with a job that I'm doing. But I did it with $70 on Amazon. And I could have walked over to Best Buy and it would have cost me I kind of pieced out a mount, a monitor, cables, and the things that I would need. It was going to be over $200. I went on Amazon and found they make these really thin portable monitors that are about the size of an iPad and about the width, the thickness of an iPad. And it's just a portable 1080p screen. It's about 14 inches wide by 9 inches tall, which is almost the exact same width of my MacBook screen. Just lower resolution, typical 1080p HD. It's not 4K, it's not 8K or anything crazy like that. But these portable monitors are so thin you can slide them into a laptop bag with your laptop and take a second screen with you. And because they're so low power, every USB-C port on the MacBooks now is a Thunderbolt capable USB-C port, which means if you have a Thunderbolt capable monitor, all I have to do is run a USB-C cord from my MacBook to the monitor, plug it into the side, and that carries the power and the video and the audio from the MacBook to the new screen. And so I don't even need a separate power cord for it, which is very convenient. And I got a tiny little aluminum, very important to get something that's sturdy instead of plastic, but I got an aluminum wall mount. So I just gotta, I gotta figure out if I can put 4 screws into the wall. And if hopefully there's enough bite that I don't have to go get a drill. But I can just zip, 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 and I've got a wall-mounted screen that'll fit right above my MacBook, and it'll give me 2 screens to work on my projects with, and then I'm on a spending freeze for a bit. Because the pattern that I was mentioning before, I had, in September, my expenses were off the rails. It was the most expensive month since I had been out of prison, because of all the random things that I had to get in order to reliably transport myself to and from the job, in order to have food to eat and, coffee to drink, and to have, some other things, and to be able to just to be able to get myself here. And now that my fines are paid off in full, there's a chance that when, I'm not holding my breath for no pardon from Donald Trump. I'm not a famous January 6th guy. I'm famous in my own right because, they put me on the national news for the whole week after I was arrested. So you type my name into Google, you're going to get there. You're never going to be able to go I will never be able to go. You will not, even if you're 10 years old right now watching this video, you will never be able to go a day for the rest of your life without being able to type my name into Google and get 500 pages about what happened. The federal government made sure that even if I, didn't go to jail for 10 years like the prosecutor wanted me to, that they were going to make sure to ruin the rest of my life and make sure that I got a life sentence for mean tweets. They're definitely going to make sure. There's people out there that raped kids, and you can't find their name in a Google search. You can't find out what they did by typing their name into Google. And they raped children. But the guy who made mean tweets, you're never going to be able to forget about that shit, ever. That's never going to go away. I could have raped 10 kids, and a Google search on my name would have brought up my resume. And nothing about the 10 kids. But, put out a mean tweet against the Biden regime, they're going to make sure that nobody ever forgets about that shit for the rest of your life. Let's see. So anyway, the whole point of this, I went off the rails a little bit there, but expenses were high in September. October, they dropped to half of that. November, they dropped to half of that. December, they dropped even more, even with Christmas. Christmas wasn't, my Santa Claus outfit was very baggy on Christmas this year. I'm just going to put it that way. It sucked. I wish I could have done more, but January was pretty light until the end of the month when I had to move. But I was able to save money November and December and January. I was able to sock money away for this crazy month that I'm in right now. And, but once again, you move and you're in a new place. Now I'm in a place on my own. I don't have a kitchen. I don't have, my friend is a chef or used to be a chef. So believe me, every single there's absolutely nothing that he doesn't have at least 6 of in his kitchen. Like the little thing that you squeeze lime with to get the lime juice out of, so that you can put lime juice in a bowl. He's got like 3 or 4 of those. Like just those. Cheese slicers, he's got like 6 different ones, and he's got 3 of each one. So yeah, like I came to this place with nothing. I didn't even have I had a hot plate that came with the tiny house. The landlord put it in here, and I didn't even have a pot to cook with. I did have a cast iron pan. I have 2 cast iron pans and a camping set. So I have a spatula, a tiny set of tongs, and a bacon press, and a handle holder for it's all in a camping kit. It's in a bag shaped like a cast iron pan that wraps around everything and kind of keeps the whole camping cast iron kit together. And then I have one other cast iron pan that's a little beat, and I don't know if I'm going to get a chance to re-season that before I get out of this place. But so there's that. I've got those things to deal with, and so this place has been a little bit. It's been trying, and I've had to go to Target numerous times. Oh, just things like toilet paper, things like basic hygiene stuff, which I had most of, but found out I was missing a couple things. Food, just household stuff that I'm looking around. I didn't have a broom. Had to get a broom and a dustpan. Got a little vacuum cleaner. Got a little mop. Tiny little mop. And just all these random things have been adding up. And so when I look at my chart for the expenses, I'm like, boom, holy shit, it's way more money this month. I think I went over this month what I spent in September when I first moved to Texas. But I know that next month's, the only thing I'm going to need next month is groceries. Next month I don't plan on I don't got enough room to buy anything. So that's a nice thing. I got no room to put stuff. So, but I can't even think of anything that I'd need. Like, Friday's going to be 30 degrees now. They're saying 28 to 30 degrees Friday morning with a high of 40. So I'm very glad that I got some extra warm weather or cold weather cycling gear. The next step in cycling gear is to get heated socks and heated gloves that are powered with a rechargeable battery to keep my feet and hands warm. That might help if it gets down to 20 and below, but I'm not spending $150 on those, especially so Friday it's supposed to be, like I said, 28 degrees when I ride the 20 miles to work and 40 on my way home if I'm lucky. And it might actually be colder when I leave because the sun's already kind of going to be low in the sky. It's going to be a cold day of biking. I'm not looking forward to it. But then the following Tuesday, from between Friday and Tuesday, it's supposed to be a low of 65 and a high of 80. So the warm weather's coming back. It's just we're in a cold snap right now. And they have been saying that there's been many days this winter where Houston's had a record lowest temperature ever recorded. And I'm like, why can't winter just leave me the fuck alone for once? I'm so sick of winter. And yeah, I know some of you live in Minnesota and it's negative 45 degrees right now. And yeah, that's why that's one of the, between negative 45 degrees and Democrats, those are two good reasons to never live in Minnesota. Um, that's it. I've visited. I've been there. I got some nice pictures of Minneapolis, but that's about as far as it gets. Um, I did see some of the I did see some of the burned down buildings from the George Floyd riots. I drove through all those neighborhoods and got some photographs of that, but that's not really what I go out to photograph. Um, let's see. So yeah, the expenses are for someone who's making good money. No, not an expensive month, but for someone who's on pace to make 25 grand this year, it's definitely been a hurtful month in terms of the money situation. But I'll be good. I can pay rent next month. I'm not worried about that. It's without some sort of flip, I'm going to be like, what's up at the end of March? But I also have faith. God's got a plan. I don't feel like I've done anything out of line with my spending. It's all been, nothing. I can't think of anything that I bought in the last month that was frivolous and just, look at, nothing, hookers and blow would be frivolous, but, you know, cycling boot covers so I can ride in the freezing cold, and an extra screen for a MacBook, a broom and cleaning supplies, and a water filter, and cooking equipment. I think those are all reasonable things to spend your money on. So I'm not, I don't feel guilt about that. But it's definitely going to be a tight budget for March. But the nice thing about it is I do have a list of things that I want or need to get. Um, and that list is kind of like, I don't see anything on that list that's like mission critical. And my grocery list so far is pick up some small garbage bags. And one of the things about this tiny little fridge that sucks, when you have a tiny little fridge like that, it's hard to keep produce fresh. One thing about these tiny little fridges that sucks is the temperature control is garbage. So what happens is you'll have half of the fridge that keeps your items frozen in the refrigerator, and then the other side of the fridge is warm enough to cause things to spoil. And you can never really get an even temperature across these tiny. It doesn't make any sense because, a big fridge will keep a temperature better from top to bottom and from side to side than a tiny little fridge like this will. And I think it just has to do with the more stuff you cram in there and the more space you take up, the less likely it's going to be to have an even temperature, because of the airflow and stuff like that. But this fridge sucks. I had some arugula, and it kept okay for a few days, but it was freezing. Half of the arugula was getting frozen and the other half wasn't. And so but arugula is a pretty hardy leaf. So even the ones that got frosted, if I pulled them out and set them on the counter while I was making my wrap, they would thaw out pretty quick, and it wasn't like iceberg lettuce where you have to just throw it away. But my leaves didn't make it too long. Salad doesn't last a long time. I didn't want to buy as big of a thing of greens as I had to buy, but that's all they sell at the grocery store. You can't just buy a small handful. Lemons. Some of my lemons froze. Some of them didn't. I had some things inside the door that got warm, even though the other half of the fridge was frozen. And so that's part of the problem with this stupid little fridge, is that you can't even keep. The freezer works just fine. Everything in it's frozen, solid. So the freezers freezes, but the refrigerator part is the problem with these little fridges. They don't have even temperature. If I took two thermometers and put one at the top in the back corner and one in the little rack on the door, the temperature would be wildly different between the two. I even think it would be wildly different if the fridge was completely empty. It would not have an even temperature across the inside of the fridge. This is just this is something I've noticed on tiny fridges for a long time. It's not, Even the little dorm fridges will be like that. You'll have a cold corner and you'll have a warm corner. And for whatever reason, this tiny little thing won't keep an even temperature. And so you have to find that balance. And this thing, you tweak the knob just a hair's width, and it'll go from like being warm enough to spoil everything to being so cold everything freezes inside of it. Just by tweaking the knob, like one little tink, a hair's width will completely change the temperature inside that thing one way or the other, from spoiled to frozen. And refrigerators, there's a fine line between safe temperature and frozen, or safe temperature and warm. It's a narrow window. You don't want it to get to 32 degrees because everything freezes, but you don't want it to go much higher than 36. So it's like, how do you want it to keep as cold as it can be without freezing? And so it's really hard to get this refrigerator adjusted. And when it comes to produce, it's like you're just wasting money because your produce is going to go to shit. So hopefully I got maybe 2 more weeks or less to deal with this stupid little fridge, and I can get a fridge that's big enough to accommodate my needs. It doesn't even have to be that much bigger than the fridge I've got, but it definitely has to be big enough to hold some drinks and a little bit of produce, and maybe a crisper drawer at the bottom, like something that takes advantage of the cold corner and the warm corner. Like the produce, like the leaves and the leafy stuff, could go in a little bit like the crisper at the bottom of most fridges. It's you just got to find the spot where it's not going to freeze but stay cold enough to be fresh. And when it comes to like the bottled coffee and stuff like that, if a couple of bottles get frozen in the back corner of the fridge, well, as they get rotated to the front, they're going to thaw out. And so it's not a big deal if the coffee freezes. It's not the end of the world. But it is the end of the world if your produce gets frozen. Most produce isn't supposed to be frozen. It's going to thaw out and turn to mush. So, I don't know, that's a small problem. Just tiny housing. It's one of those things you gotta figure out how to do things differently than you would do in a full regular house. One of the things I do regularly, just, when I'm sitting in the chair just chilling out, I'll go to Facebook Marketplace. Seems to be the only place to find decent apartments and decent rental properties. But the problem is you can't go to Facebook Marketplace and actually click on rentals and browse the rentals category. It's so freaking weird how this fucking garbage software works, because if you go to the rentals category and you set up the filters, you look for a certain price, you look for location on the map, the only thing that shows up, 99 out of 100 listings, will be somebody who has a room for rent in their house. Not an apartment, not a home, not a house, nothing like that. 99 out of 100, room for rent inside of house. And then the fucked up thing is you go on the map and you look in the areas where there's a property because you found it. And it's listed on Facebook Marketplace. These properties, these apartments, and these houses don't show up on the map. And they don't show up when you browse by the real estate rental category. But then the algorithm, the AI bullshit, when you come back to Facebook Marketplace and you click on the marketplace, and the first thing that they show you is what the AI thinks that you're looking for, all of a sudden apartments and houses show up in the list that would never show up under the rentals category. And they will be, they might be close to you, they might not be, but then there's like houses for rent, apartments for rent. All these different things will show up that I'm not kidding you. I've bookmarked 10 of them. And if you go to the actual rentals category and sort and filter down to the exact zip code where these houses are located, not only will they not show up on the map, but they also won't even show up in the listings under rentals. Like, Facebook rentals is literally only showing you people who have a room for rent in the house. They're not showing you apartments, and they won't show you houses. But once Facebook knows that you're looking to rent something because the AI latched on to the fact that that's what you're searching for, when you come back, the regular listings all of a sudden start showing properties. It's so fucking weird. Like, I wish you could just filter out the people who are renting a room in a house and not an apartment and not a house. Just show me, like, exclude those and show me everything else. Put it on a map, because these people are putting the addresses on the map. So the listings have addresses. And when you click on these ads that I have bookmarked, it also shows a map with a dot where the property is. And so there's no reason that when you go to the map view for the rentals, all of a sudden there's no dot on the map. And you know for sure that there's a property right on that exact spot, but the map is blank. Because the list, like, their fucking system is so screwed up. It's ridiculous. It's so bad. Like, they're so worried about, they're so busy making this AI garbage that they can't make a basic search function work properly. Like, a search function should allow you to see all the properties that you have selected to be seen by setting up the filters. And I can prove time and time and time again that the properties that I've bookmarked do not show up in the listings when you browse down to the rentals category and try to find them there. They're not there. None of them are. But then they show up in the regular listings, the AI generated listings, when you first hit the Facebook Marketplace button. And it just shows you, like, you haven't set any filters, any search parameters, any distance, you haven't set anything. And AI is just determining, here are the things that we think you want because we've been spying on you for the last month and watching everything that you do. So now we think that you would be interested in these things. And all of a sudden, apartments show up, houses show up, properties show up with a house and land. I swear to God, if you click on one mobile home that's for sale and you look at the ad, the next time you log into Facebook, you're going to see 20 more ads like that. So it's all AI. But, like, you fucking assholes, you dumbass programmers from India should be making the general search function work. It would be the same as if you went to Amazon and you needed a bicycle pump and you type in bike pump and you don't see any bicycle pumps. You see bicycle tools, you see bicycle work stands, you see a whole bunch of bicycles. You don't see a single fucking bicycle pump. But then you come back to Amazon, and on the homepage, the next time you go to Amazon, the whole homepage is covered with 50 different bicycle pumps. And you're like, where the fuck were these bicycle pumps when I went to the search and typed in bicycle pump? None of them showed up. But now the whole homepage is covered with them because somehow Amazon just knows, the AI knows, oh, he's interested in bicycle pumps. Let's show him all the bicycle pumps that we have. Well, why don't you show me all the fucking bicycle pumps that you have when I'm searching for a fucking bicycle pump? How about that? So Amazon, Amazon is not guilty of what I just said, but that's the equivalent of what Facebook Marketplace is. If you search for something, you're not going to find it. But then the next time you come back, their AI garbage is going to say, oh, here's a bunch of shit we thought you might be looking for. Well, you could have showed me all that stuff when I typed it into the search tool. And so it's fucking stupid, but I haven't found a good app. Craigslist is just full of scammers, and it's full. Craigslist, if you go and look for an apartment, what you see, one of three things. You see 150 ads from the same apartment complex over and over and over and over and over again. Like there are apartment complexes here in Houston that must post an ad to Craigslist 5 times a day, because when you type that you're looking for an apartment in Houston, you will literally see 60 to 100 of the same exact ad for the same exact apartment complex with the same exact photos and the same exact description. I don't even know how they pull that off, because Craigslist has algorithms that block you from posting duplicate posts. So I don't even know how they're doing this. But you will literally find 50 to 60 posts of the same exact apartment. And it's always an apartment complex. It's always one of these, apartment complexes with some property management company, and they all say, they're all wicked expensive and must pass background check, have 6 different landlord references, no evictions, no felonies, just first and last month's rent, and must provide proof of income, and just, like this whole thing, you got to jump through all these hoops just to go look at an apartment there. And then if you rent an apartment from them and something breaks, they're just like, well, fuck you. Good luck. We got your money, bitch. So, yeah, I'm not doing that. So you can't filter those out. And then the other thing that you see on Craigslist are scams. Just scam after scam after scam after scam. You see a house listed in the affluent Woodland suburbs that is, that would be, the mortgage payment would be $6,000 a month, marble floors, marble countertops, probably a $6,000 stove and oven, wall, $6,000 wall inset ovens with, a 6-burner professional range on a marble countertop, gas, with a beautiful hood on an island in the center of a giant kitchen, a deck, a swimming pool, and, spiral staircases going up to a balcony, and 6 bedrooms and all this shit. And then it'll be only $500 a month. $500 a month, you say? Oh, that's a great deal. Let me get right on that. You fucking scammer. So, yeah. And then you've got other scammers that are a little less, scammers for people who are a little bit less gullible than the person who thought they were getting a MTV Cribs house for $500 a month. Where the ad will look a little bit more like a normal rental place, and it'll be like, just an apartment. But you reach out to the person, and you can immediately tell that they're a scam artist because of the way that they basically come at you. They want your money, and then the number one way to tell a scam like that is if they won't let you go see the inside of the place when you ask, or if they demand. A lot of them will demand that you fill out an application to rent, and they want you to pay $25-50 for the application. And then you're going to give them $25 to $50, or even more retarded, you're going to put your fucking bank account information in a thing that's not secure, and then they're just going to steal it from you. But they want money from you before you go look at the place. Fuck that. I want to see the place. I'll apply. I'll fill out the rental application after I go inside and see that it's a real place with a real landlord and a real contract, and everything's real and legitimate. So no, we're not playing that game. So that's the second thing that you see on Craigslist. And the third thing that you'll see on Craigslist is a legitimate ad. You'll see legitimate apartments, legitimate ads, but you'll have to sift through at least 150 or more ads before you see the one that's legitimate. The tiny house that I'm living in here was on Craigslist. That's where I found it. And it was literally in a sea of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fake ads, scam ads, and ads from the same 2 apartment complexes that seem to post 10 times a day the same ad over and over and over again. So it just completely saturates the search results with their bullshit, and you can't find anything else because it's just a sea of nonsense. And so those are the 2 ways that I know right now to look for an apartment here or a house here in Houston. Every single other apartment search tool, whether it's Zillow, apartments.com, any of those national the only thing they're ever going to show you is property management companies. And I've never had a good result ever going through one of those websites. It's all the property owners don't want anything to do with you unless you. A lot of those property owners will make you pay them. They all want a fee. They all want some sort of application fee before they'll even let you look at the apartment. I've seen that over and over and over, not in Pittsburgh, Jamestown, and here in Houston. You fill out an apartments.com listing, even if it looks like a legitimate apartment, and the landlord's not going to give you the time of day unless you want to pay them money to come look at the place. And it's like, bitch, I'll go look at the place and then I'll decide if I want to live there or not. I'm not going to pay you for the privilege of going to look at your shit, ghetto, roach-infested shithole. I'm not. I can live in a fucking tent if it comes down to that. So it's a bit cold for that right now, but, all I'm saying is searching for a place to live is hard right now. There used to be a few other apps out there that were really good. They're gone. Those apps the companies went out of business or whatever. One was called Pad Mapper. Actually, I know Pad Mapper used to be an aggregate. It would show a Google map and it would show all the places that are available for rent on different places like Craigslist and stuff like that. And it was a very, very, very good app. I found a place to live using that app twice. Craigslist sued the shit out of the guy for tapping into the API and building this tool. And so Craig, that fucking douchebag communist asshole, sued the shit out of this guy and put him out of business. So, and now Craigslist is just a complete shit show. Worse than it's ever been. But Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace seem to be the only 2 places to go, and both of them are just a complete shit show. So it's what the problem is, it's almost like if I was a better software developer. Now, this isn't something one person can do, unless you're extremely talented, you've got a couple $1 million in the bank to live off of while you're trying to figure this out. There is a niche, there's an opening right now for someone to come out with a good way to find an apartment. I see that there's a lack. The market is lacking right now. Because I live in the fourth biggest city in America. You got New York City, number 1, LA, number 2, Chicago, number 3, Houston, number 4. It shouldn't be this hard to find a place to live in the 4th biggest city in the country. But and with the internet, it should be extremely easy to find all of the apartments, all of the houses, all of the rooms for rent. It should be very easy to be able to not only filter those out by price and by type, but to also show them all on a map. Google Maps API does not make it that hard to plot points on a map if you know the coordinates, or you don't even have to know the geographic coordinates, you just have to know the address. And even if you don't have the address, if you have the zip code or the town, state, Google will still place a dot on the map in the center of that town. So like maybe somebody's got a property for rent, but they don't want people coming by to like steal the copper pipes in the middle of the night, so they don't put the whole address in the ad, but they'll say it's Spring, Texas, for example, and so there'll be a dot right in the middle of Spring, Texas, and that's an approximate location. That's fine, it's good enough. you talk to the landlord, you say you want to come by and see the property, they'll give you the address, but at least the dot on the map gave you an approximate location so you can see what the neighborhood is. This is not that hard to build something like that. The hard part is scaling it, scaling it so that millions of people can use it at the same time, making it secure enough so that people's data is secure, so that hackers can't get in and fuck with it. And the third thing is the marketing side, making people aware of its existence and that it's there. And so those are the three challenges to build something like that. But the actual build of it, the design of it, the structure of the database is actually pretty damn simple. And I'm surprised that we have all these giant teams of programmers, albeit H-1B visas from India. But how are all these platforms that are available to us such complete shit shows? And I guess another challenge would be to stop people from spamming it. If you set up a site where people could list their properties for rent, how do you stop the giant property management company with 6 apartment complexes in Houston from spamming the site so that they're posting 30 ads a day and drowning out all of the other ads so that nobody sees anything but their properties? There's ways you would have to put roadblocks in there and different filters in there to keep people from doing that crap. You would have to keep, scammers would be another obstacle to overcome. How do you shut down all of the scam ads that are going to start showing up on your site, especially if you do this thing nationwide? You're going to be getting bombarded with scam ads, people posting the $6,000 a month mortgage homes and then saying it's only $500 a month. You're going to get bombarded with all kinds. It's way more complicated than it sounds. But when you've got the resources that Facebook has, when you've got the resources that Craigslist has, when you've got the teams and teams upon teams of programmers to build this shit, what I don't understand is why there's such a shit show. But I worked in software specifically as a user experience. Well, I worked as a software developer, a front-end user interface developer, which means I wrote code that determines what the user interface looks like. I did that for 6 years at software companies. And then for another 10 years, I worked as a user experience designer, where I design what the interface looks like, how the workflows work, how things are generally structured, and actually test and interview people to find out whether it's intuitive and whether they can figure out how to use it by building prototypes that are quick and cheaper to build, to test things out with people so that, do the people realize where the buttons are? If I show them the homepage of our app and I say, I want you to create a listing for an apartment, where would you go and how would you go about doing that? And then sit back and watch them click on the prototype and see if they can figure out where to go without me having to tell them. That's the goal. And then, if they can figure it out, ask them, what do you think should be better? Do you think anything's missing? Those kinds of things. A lot of research goes into user experience design. It's not just sitting as a graphic designer and coming up with what things look like, but you actually have to do research to find out whether or not the thing's usable or not. And so that's where a lot of companies are lacking right now. As a user experience designer, I'd walk into Facebook Marketplace and throw those motherfuckers under the bus, because I can come up with 300 things that are completely broken on that app without even having to do more than a day's worth of research. Same thing with Craigslist. But the thing is, these companies don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck about the user. They don't give a fuck about the people using the platform. They give a fuck about making things fast, putting out new things fast. They don't test anything. The customer is the tester now. The only thing that they test is to make sure that they try to test to make sure that people can't hack into the system and break it, and they try to make sure people's data is secure. They test things that they could get sued for and get put out of business for. People's credit card information being stolen, people's private data being stolen, security things like that. They test for that, but they don't test to make sure things are usable or even function. If enough people complain, and by enough, it's if half of the user base complains that something's not working, they'll put it in the backlog, and we'll get around to it. And they might move it up in the backlog. But these companies have backlogs of bugs and issues. Every software company that I ever worked for had a backlog of bugs and software issues and experience issues and broken things to fix that it would take a team of 100 people 6 years to fix. Because they don't give a fuck. They let these things pile up, and they never prioritize. They never even have a team set aside to handle the bug fixing and the problems that come in. They only dedicate their software teams to building new stuff. New broken stuff, but new stuff. They always want to be able to have the marketing team go out and say, look, we got new AI stuff. It's AI. Everything's AI now. We've got new artificial intelligence that's going to do everything for you. It's going to work great. And so they're just piling more broken shit on top of broken shit at the end of the day. And they're not fixing the broken shit. They don't care about fixing it. I can tell you this because I've worked at one company after the next, after the next, after the next, after the next, after the next. And I've sat with more than one CEO who literally says face to face, looks me in the eye and says, well, all of our competition has a broken pile of shit, so why should we have to build anything better than that to compete with them? They don't care. They do not care. They do not care. They only care about the money. And if they can sell a broken piece of shit and make money off of it, they're never going to fix the broken piece of shit. I'm telling you, if automobiles were made the same way software was built, half of the people driving automobiles would die because their cars would catch on fire, and the door latch to open the door to get out of the car would break, and you'd be trapped in the car and burned to death. Or the wheels would fall off while you're driving down the road, or the brakes would randomly stop working, and you would basically be in a death trap every time you get behind the steering wheel. But they can't just cobble together a fucking car in a week and just kind of half-ass it together and put it out there and then let the customer figure out what's wrong with the car. The government doesn't allow them to do that. But that's exactly how they build software. So I'm just going to leave it. That was a long video for today. And I'll get it uploaded whenever I can. Anyway, peace out. So Amazon, man, these people at Amazon crack me up. I just talked about ordering a monitor for my little workstation here. And I got an email saying your item has shipped. And I'm like, that's cool. It says it'll be here sometime before 10 p.m. 5 to 10 minutes later, I get another email saying your package was delivered. I'm like, what? No. No, come on. And I go out front and there it is. And the monitor is so perfect for this little space. And the clamp mount that I got is so perfect. I literally got from the front porch to having my new space, my new little setup set up in less than 5 minutes. I'm not kidding. It was 4 screws and a ball joint and a thing. And this clamp, like I said, this monitor, this thing is super thin. Super thin. It's about the weight of an iPad. It might even be lighter than an iPad. This thing is super light, really light. It doesn't weigh anything. It weighs less than a pound. It's so sweet. Some of the ones that they sell on Amazon, it's called the portable monitor. It's meant for traveling with and stuff like that. Some of them have covers, like the cover on a Surface tablet. That go with. This didn't come with anything. It has a stand on the back, a retractable stand that you can flip out and you can set it on a desk. All it takes is a USB-C cord, Thunderbolt port, USB-C, USB-C. As soon as you plug in the cord, the thing turns on. Boom, now I've got an extra desk. Now, within 5 minutes, within 15 minutes of Amazon telling me my order is shipped, I have my little workspace all set up exactly how I want. I mean, it's not exactly how I want, but it's going to be perfect for this tiny little house situation. My OCD, the top monitor's a little bit, it's a ball joint, so I can adjust it. So I can slide the thing back and forth, and I can adjust the exact tilt and everything, so my OCD won't be bothered too much by it. But now I've got a window to put my code, a window to put what I'm working on, side by side or above and below each other. I could put 3 more of these screens. I mean, I could... that was $70 to get a setup like this in place. I might want to tuck the wires in a little bit and have them organized a little bit more clean. But I'm just going to work like this today. And I was not even expecting to be able to do my work today with this in place. It took less time to order this thing from Amazon, go to my front porch, pick it up, come in here and set it up, than it would have taken to walk over to Best Buy, which is on the other side of the highway from me, and go buy $200 worth of crap, bring it home, and figure out how to put it all together. It's a 1080p screen. I don't know what the refresh rate is. It may not be that great in terms of quality, in terms of refresh rate, and some of the other things. You know, watching a video on it might not be the best, but I didn't buy it for that. I literally bought it to put, like, I can put a window with some code up there, and I can put what I'm writing the code for below it. I can use, there's a million different ways to use a second screen. A lot of the times I'll have 3 or 4 screens in my setup. This Mac right here easily supports having 3 screens, including the Mac screen itself, but along with 2 other screens. Adding a 4th screen depends on the computer. Some Macs, my older Mac that sits in here that I use for a TV now because it's just convenient to pull out my TV when I want to chill. And that way my chair is exactly centered with my television and speaker. So that's all I'm using that old MacBook for right now. But I find lots of uses for that old MacBook here and there. The reason why you can't see anything on the bottom screen here is because I have to set the contrast settings on the video camera to not blow. You won't be able to see the shadow detail if I show you all the highlight detail. Everything else would get too dark. But this is what it looks like side by side there with that screen. The extra computer, I have a Surface tablet that I almost never use, and right now the keyboard's bad. I have to get another keyboard for that. And I have that old MacBook that I use for different things from time to time. But this is my main setup right here. I also have a mouse that can sit on the desk right there. I'm just not really using it right now, but depending on what work I'm doing, I'll use a mouse instead of the trackpad. If I had that MacBook on a stand further away and elevated from me, I would use a keyboard and a mouse on the desk. But right now, this desk that I'm using is so small, it's better to just have the MacBook sitting there. But this is great. This is like, I'm really like, wow. I can't believe it's like, what time is it? It's not even 11 a.m., 10:30 in the morning. I ordered this thing at 10 o'clock last night, and at 10:30 in the morning, it's all set up and working. I literally could not have gone to Best Buy, walking there, picked up the stuff, brought it back, and set it up quicker than this. Just everything worked out perfect. It was like $70. I was feeling a little bit guilty about spending the $70 on this setup. Because money, I can get through the next month and a half, but things are starting to tighten up, and I gotta, like, I really had to kind of think about it. You you're going to get more productivity by doing this, but you're going to have to like you're going to have to cut something else out. I was kind of getting like that. And then a random viewer dropped $200 in the digital chicken bucket. And I'm like, what? It came out of nowhere. And I was like, wow. So like yesterday when I ordered the monitor, I definitely went cheap. The monitor and the stand was $70 total. The monitor was like $50. The clamp was $20, or somewhere in that. It was $70. The setup I could have got at Best Buy would have been about $200. So I went cheap, and I tried to be frugal about this, and I was feeling a little bit guilty about it. But I sat back and I'm like, God, you always take care of me. If I'm doing the right thing, I don't feel like this is too frivolous to be setting up my workspace to be more efficient. It's not like I'm out spending money on hookers and blow and crack and, even marijuana. I'm not spending money there either. So, I'm not even drinking. I've had maybe 4, maybe 5 beers since I got out of prison. I think 2 of those beers were sometime during Thanksgiving week, and a couple of those beers were at the Manly hair salon where they give you beer while you're getting your hair cut. That's it. And if I'm paying, to get my hair cut and they want to give me beer, I'm like, okay, fine, free beer. You're charging enough for a haircut. I'll drink your beer. But I'm not into like getting high or anything right now. I can't. I can't be, smoking a joint is not worth going back to federal prison. I can tell you that. But crazy. Just a little bit of I got a little bit of a mess to clean up, but in freaking less than 10 minutes, I picked up a package from the front door and I got a workspace in front of me that's going to totally change my efficiency and being able to work on some of these projects. And I'm just like blown away by how I think the only other time there's been times I ordered something on Amazon at 9 in the morning and 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, it's at my door. And that was when I lived out in Amish country, out in the middle of nowhere. Amazon can still deliver something in 2 hours after you order it, depending on what it is. And there was another time that, you call me father of the year or whatever, but I don't like to give my kids a ton of candy on Easter. Let them go get a bag full of candy on Halloween, but on Easter I just was like, I never really was big into giving my kids candy on Easter. But I would always get them a gift of some kind, and usually a pretty cool gift. I'm like that. So this one year, it's Saturday night, and I'm sitting there in the house. I'm like, oh shit, I forgot Easter's tomorrow. Crap. And my son was with me at the house, so it wasn't even like I could have something sitting there next weekend when he comes to visit. No, he's with me now. I'm like, crap. I don't want my son to wake up on Easter morning and feel like dad forgot. So I get on Amazon, and my son was heavily into archery, and I found a rangefinder, a laser rangefinder on Amazon. It was a good price. It was less than $50. And so I ordered it. They delivered that thing on Easter morning at like 7 in the morning. Before my son even woke up, he had his Easter gift sitting there from Amazon, delivered on Easter Sunday at 7 in the freaking morning. It was there. And I lived out in Amish country, out in the middle of nowhere. And they were able to deliver that thing. I mean, these box marts, these stores, Target, Walmart, all these companies are bitching about how Amazon's ruining their business. Well, that's why. Because I can't go to Wally World. I can't go to Target or Target, as the uppity people like to call it. I can't go there and get anything that's worth anything. Pretty much everything I've bought at Target, I want to return right now because it's all trash. The bike pump I got was trash. I got you go to Amazon, anything you're looking for is right there. You got 20 different ones to pick from. people, you can read all the reviews, you can see for yourself. If it's something that you want to return, it's easier to return something to Amazon than it is to return something to Target, even though I can walk to Target. Like there's just there Amazon, I'm not a big, I'm not a big fan of China Mart, and I'm not a big fan of a lot of the things that Amazon does, but in terms of getting something that you need and making sure that it's a decent quality, I mean, I couldn't have my computer set up like this if I if I went to 20 different box marts today. I wouldn't have been able to find a setup like this and have it installed and working within 10 minutes. I mean, it was less than 12 hours after I ordered it. I ordered it at 10 o'clock last night. I get an email at like 10:15 saying it's just been shipped. 10:30, it's at the door. I must have been the first stop on Mr. Amazon's route today. I don't know. But you can't... I couldn't even go to the freaking store that fast and come back with the stuff. And it would have cost twice as much. And it wouldn't have been as good as what I got. So that's why Amazon's totally crushing these stores. I used to tell my son, I'm like, there's going to come a day in your life where there are no stores anymore. You're going to see all these abandoned malls and abandoned strip malls, and you're just going to see these box marts and these empty parking lots with tumbleweeds blowing across, and these empty square boxes in these ugly freaking neighborhoods, traffic lights hanging on cords and swinging back and forth with half of the bulbs blown out, and all of that because everybody's shopping online now. But it's getting to the point where there's no reason to go to the store anymore. If I could go grocery shopping online and trust that my food's going to be here, I wouldn't even go to the grocery store anymore. I'm not going to lie. I would just have it all delivered. But right now it's cheaper to go to the grocery store. And believe me when I tell you, if you order your food on the grocery website and then you go to pick up your food in the parking lot, you're going to get the softest apple. You're going to get the most rotten black banana. You're going to get the wilted salad. You're going to get the milk that expires tomorrow instead of the milk from the back of the rack that still lasts 2 more weeks. You're going to get all the worst stuff. Like, grocery shopping, something you got to do with your own hands if you like to cook and you like to have produce that lasts and you like to have things done right. You can't put it in a zit-faced teenager's hands, because that zit-faced teenager is they're probably being told, the people that fill the online orders at the grocery store, make sure you get the rotten apples out of here. Make sure you get the moldy lemons out of here. Make sure you give them the milk that's going to expire tomorrow. We got to move this product. And so they're just going to say that to the employees and make the employees give the customer the worst stuff, probably as a policy. So right now, grocery shopping is not there. But it's going to come to a point where there is no more grocery store. And you're just going to have stuff delivered to your house. Because it's going to be like that movie WALL-E. Americans are confined to their recliners. And everywhere they go, they're sitting in a recliner that hovers off the ground. And it takes them everywhere they got to go. It docks with their electric car. The electric car only goes where the government allows you to go. And, at what times the government says that you can leave your house, and it'll take you home when you're going to break your curfew and all that. Because your recliner that you're sitting in is going to control where you go. It's going to be like having a Walmart scooter, except it hovers, it floats. And, we're going to be at the point where there are no more stores. And you just have everything brought to your house. And it's going to be brought to your house by a robot. There won't even be jobs for people to deliver the stuff, because it's going to come by a drone or an autonomous vehicle. Or it might have an autonomous vehicle with some sort of Tesla robot that gets out and drops the package off and says, "Good day, have a good day. Thank you for shopping with Amazon Prime." And then it gets back into Optimus Prime and drives away. And so that's that's the future we're looking at. But at least for today, I was able to get a freaking screen going without even having to get up off my ass. Once again, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Adam. It's actually Tiny Housinʼ, Volume 16. This is a conglomeration. It's probably going to be pretty long. I don't know if there is a time limit on a YouTube video. I'm actually going to look while I talk to you guys. Let's see. Just looking to see. Oh, 12 hours. Okay. I remember that because there's been some videos. I know they had a video of a... It was kind of funny. They have a video of Darth Vader burning at his funeral pyre at the end of Return of the Jedi. And it's a 5-hour loop. It just goes for 5 hours. And so what you do with that is, like, on Christmas, if you're one of these people who have the fireplace on TV because you don't want to have a real fire in your fireplace, or because you don't have a fireplace, or whatever the case, you can have Darth Vader on the Darth Vader Yule log on your screen when you're celebrating Christmas or whatever. I remember I did that one time as a gag instead of the Yule log video, and it was like 5 hours. You just had to hit play, and it was just Darth Vader burning for 5 hours. So I know you can have a pretty long video. And so, yeah, I've had 3 days. This is the end of my 3-day stint of not having to cycle to the bakery. I have to go in the morning. So I'm looking at the weather report right now. 30 degrees on my way in. 38 degrees for my ride home. This is going to be a miserable day. The probation officer decided he wants to stop by tomorrow morning before I leave, like 10 minutes before I've got to be on my bike. And he knows what time I'm leaving to go to work. So, I mean, that's kind of an indication that he's not planning on being here a long time. And this was something that they have to do. If you move, if you change your address, they're going to come over and look at your place. He's not going to go rummaging through everything and digging deep into things. He's just going to look around. He's going to make sure that, I'm not living in an opium den or, something like that. It's not that big of a deal. But I'm already up against a lot of stress tomorrow. 40 miles of cycling in bitter cold air. Like I said, I know some of you live in Minnesota right now, and it's like negative 50 degrees. That's why I don't live in Minnesota. That's why I would never live in the upper northwest plains or whatever you want to call that region of the United States where they get the absolute coldest temperatures year after year after year. Nah, I'm good. I don't need negative 50. Jamestown, New York is bad enough in the winter. Pittsburgh was bad enough in the winter. Jamestown's much worse. I don't need that anymore. People keep telling me how brutal the heat is here in Houston. I believe it. I believe it. I'm down south. I'm near the ocean. I'm right next to the Gulf of America. And that's a hot zone in the summertime. But I'll take 90 degrees with humidity over 30 degrees, freezing my ass off, having to wear 3 layers of clothes just to do something. Having to wear a sweater inside, having to wear layers of clothes inside. Now, it's pretty warm in here in the tiny house. The tiny heater does a pretty good job. It actually got hot enough in here I had to turn the thing off, but I'm keeping my sweater on. I'm just comfortable. So, yeah, I got to get up at 5 in the morning tomorrow and deal with not only getting ready. I'm definitely going to pack my bag tonight after I shoot this video. I'm going to go put my loadout together for the bike ride tomorrow. Go through my checklist. All the batteries are charged. You saw the little video of my battery, my charging station all tidied up and organized and put away. That happened on the first morning of my 3 days of freelance work. First day of the 3 days of not having to ride to the bakery, you can tell. I mean, look at my demeanor picked up. I'm a little bit more peppy, and I got my thought. I'm a little bit more with it right now. I know that it's Tiny Housinʼ, volume 16. I looked it up. I know that I just feel so much better. I've been waking up at 7 in the morning ish, getting to work about 9, working through till the evening. Each day I get a little bit more energy. The Garmin tracks your body battery, and it's just an estimate of your energy level, and it definitely said that I have a lot more energy, and I got a lot better sleep last night than for days leading up to that. And I've only been wearing this thing for since last weekend, but it definitely felt like I got a good night's sleep, and I'm like recharged. I sat in front of my new workstation. You saw the 2 screens set up. It's comfy. It's tiny. It's definitely not as elaborate as some of the workstations I've set up in the past, but it definitely, the extra monitor, infinitely more productive today. Doing what I was doing, the work that I was doing, told me right away. Within a couple of hours, I accomplished a lot more than I would have if I was just trying to use one screen. There's so many reasons that an extra screen comes in handy for this kind of work. Not only having more workspace to move windows around and jump back and forth between them, but this monitor is a basic 1080p HD, standard HD display, and with a MacBook with a Retina display, it's called a high resolution display. So if you're building a website and you have a box and the code says that the box is 100 pixels wide by 100 pixels tall, it's a square. When you take a screenshot of that on a Retina display and you drop it into Photoshop and you're trying to measure things. So you want to measure things visually so that it matches what you put together in a design tool. It's a tedious process. I've been doing this with a website all day. I'm just about to launch a very simple website for a client. I can see the finish line. I'm just going block by block and making sure that it works on the smallest iPhone, a 320 pixel wide iPhone SE or something like that. And it worked, and no matter what width the screen is, the content flows and it formats properly for the screen. It's called responsive design. I'm at that stage. I'm just tidying up this site, and so I have to take a lot of screenshots and measure them. Now with the standard HD display, whatever the size of something is in code, it's going to be the same size in the screenshot. So if a 100 pixel box by 100 pixel box is going to measure out to 100 pixels by 100 pixels in Photoshop when I'm measuring it. If you take a screenshot on a Retina display, on a high resolution display, it's going to be 200 pixels by 200 pixels. And so you have to do a lot of extra math when you're taking screenshots on a high resolution display and then measuring them to what is in code. And the reason why these screens work like that, a high resolution display displays 4 pixels for every 1 pixel in code. So it makes everything sharper. It makes text sharper. It makes circles crisper. It makes any standard flat graphics very sharp and crisp. And then for photographs, if you place a photograph in a web page and you want it to look sharp on a high resolution display, if you have a photograph that's 100 pixels wide by 100 pixels tall, or if that's the box that the photo has to fit into, you have to make your photograph 200 pixels wide by 200 pixels tall, so that when the high resolution display shrinks it to that box, the photo looks crisp. It actually makes a big difference if you put a 100 pixel by 100 pixel photo in a box that size and then look at it on a high resolution display. It looks all blurry and it looks kind of crummy. But if you double the resolution of the photo, twice as much as what the box that it's supposed to fit to is specified for, then the photo looks much, much sharper and more detailed on a high resolution display. But on a standard resolution display, it looks just as good as it would if it was sized to the native size of the box. So that's your brief explanation on a very complicated subject. So that's what I'm doing today. This second screen is kicking ass. It's helped me. I got twice as much work done today as I would have without it. And all of the, I gave myself a little bit of guilt for spending the money because I'm trying to curb my spending now that I'm moved in and settled and got the basics that I needed. And I'm just trying to push off some of the other things on my list until I get a couple more paydays. And then after I get settled in a little deeper, I'll go back to trying to save up some money so I can get myself a car. And so I got a lot going on. But one of you know who you are if you're watching this video. Somebody dropped, the day after I bought this monitor, somebody dropped a couple $100 in the digital chicken bucket at donate.litgood.com. And I was like, whoa, I haven't seen one of those in a while. And so right there, because when I bought the monitor, I was giving myself a little bit of a guilt over it, even though it's not like I'm going out and spending my money on hookers and blow. You know, I'm buying things that are going to help me be more productive, help me earn a living, help make my space more livable. I got water back there. That water filter cost a little bit of money. I got an extra bicycle just in case my bicycle takes a dump and I can't get around anymore. So I did some things and I had a little bit of guilt about it. And then I said but then yesterday or the 2 days ago, whatever it was, whenever I placed the order on Amazon, I took a deep breath and I said, you know what? God will work it out. God will work it out. He'll work it out. He'll make it work. I feel like it's the right thing to do. Make your space as productive as you can. It's not like I'm going out and buying some high-end gear. I'm just buying a couple of things that are going to make me work faster. And I need to get some projects done. I got money on the table I can collect if I get these done. Good money. Money that, if I get everything that's on my plate done, there's the potential that I could pay, I would have enough to get a car. So my motivation's there. But I just said to myself, God will take care of it. Just don't worry about it. God will take care of it. The next morning I wake up, I go on, I log in, I see someone dropped money in the digital chicken bucket. And I'm like, wow. And really, if I add up, so if you want to know where your money went, the digital chicken bucket, that donation covers the cost of the water filter. Water is life. I've got clean drinking water. I've got so much water stockpiled now. I've got gallons, not 50 gallons, but I've got well over enough water I got to worry about water now. Water is taken care of. And I got a monitor with a really nice clamp and a wall mount. I mean, this monitor weighs about 1.2 pounds. And I got an iPad clamp that mounts to the wall. And I clamped it into that. It's real simple. Between those two things, that covers the donation. So that was a good use of some money. And that puts that money back in my pocket. And I'm just going to sit on it because I'm going to go grocery shopping. And I'm basically going to get food for the next couple of weeks. I really don't see myself spending any money for the end of February. When I looked at my overall spending, I remember saying in an earlier video or earlier this video that February was going to be more than January. Turns out that's not the case. If I look at my chart for January was actually really high, but it wasn't as high as last September. Still, last September was my most expensive month in Texas. When I first moved here, it was a lot of money. And then the next month dropped to about half, a little more than half of September. November stayed about even. December dropped to about half of November. And then January was like boom, but still 2/3 of what I spent in September. September was an expensive month for a lot of different reasons. It almost broke me. but I got things done and the money started trickling back in. I was able to save back up to where I was and then surpass that. But then I just outlaid a bunch. But it all ended up going out the door in January, most of it in rent, because I had to pay a first month's rent and an equal amount of money as a security deposit. And then there was a bicycle, and then groceries, and some other things, some things that I needed, just the general, I needed to get a cot and a mattress to sleep on, so I wasn't sleeping on the floor. Things like that. Those are the majority of what went down in January. So when I look at February right now, I'm at 2/3 of what I spent in January, but I will be paying my rent before the end of the month. And there are some other automatic bills that get paid, my internet connections, different software subscriptions and things for my business. So, but everything's tight. And so I greatly appreciate the donate.litgood.com chicken bucket donation. That really, it just changed my whole outlook for the rest of the week. I get, tomorrow's payday for the bakery. I don't think I'm going to get as much as I was hoping for because I got sent home early a couple of the days last week for Valentine's Hell Week. But being sent home an hour or two early also made it so I could get home before the sun, before it got too dark. So I wasn't complaining too much temperature-wise. Everything was cold. It was a hard week. So, losing $25-30 off my paycheck, all right, fine. But I'll have, between that donation, between the paycheck tomorrow, that will actually give me a nice boost. I do have a minimum amount of money I'm trying to keep in my checking account right now, or across my bank accounts. I have a couple of different accounts, and I'm trying to keep it at I'm trying to pretend that a certain amount of money equals zero, so that I'm trying to make it so that I always have 2 months rent in the bank at all times. That's going to help me with that. Now, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to do that, at least for the next month or two, but if things could change on a dime. I was talking about job lead where the recruiter blew me off. So I made a concerted effort this week, as soon as I had the day off, that was Tuesday, to reach out to the guy. Left him another, professional message. I wasn't like, F you, mother effer, all that. That's not how we do. I just, I left him a message saying, hey, I tried to reach out to you. I know we were talking. If you already found another candidate, good luck. I was, very gracious and everything. He got back to me and left me a message that basically said they have a candidate that they're putting through the onboarding process, but they may need more. They want to keep me on, they're going to bring me in. If they decide to hire another person for the team, they're going to reach out to me. And we kind of went back and forth through some emails and the phone messages. I let them know that I'm only 10 miles away. It's actually 12, but whatever. So they don't know I'm riding my bicycle in if I get the job. I may have to take an Uber to a job interview. I don't even know what's going to happen there if I get a job interview there. But if I start a job there and it's an on location at the place job, for the first couple of weeks, I'll have to ride my bicycle. It should be a pretty decent, they should have, at a place like this, they should have the facilities for that. But, that's a long way away. That's job interviews, job offer, background checks, and all the stuff away from, I don't count it as real till the money's in the bank for the first paycheck. It's not real. So, it is what it is. But should something like that happen financially, I cannot shut the door on trying to find a job like that, because financially it would solve my problems overnight. I mean, one paycheck would be from a job like that would be more money than I've had in the bank and at one time since I got out of prison. Just one paycheck I would have more money in a bank account than I've had in a bank account since I got out of prison, just with one payday. 2 paydays in a month, I can get all caught up on everything, have money set aside, I could go get a car, a decent car with a low, I'm gonna get something. In that case, I would go and get a car loan for a newer car, but I would try to get like an economy car. I drove a Mitsubishi Garbage, or it's like the cheapest Mitsubishi you can probably buy, right? It's got wagon wheels from like a radio flyer on it. So if you need new tires, it's probably gonna be $150 for all four. It's like that. I drove this thing to Houston and back and all over the place around here. I put a couple hundred miles on this thing, and when I went to fill up the gas tank before taking it back, I put $4 worth of gas in, and the pump shut off, and I thought it was a ghetto ass broken gas pump, and I'm clicking the thing. I'm like, what's going on? No way. I only used $4 in gas to drive all over the freaking place today? You gotta be out of your mind. I looked it up. The payments on something like that would be like a couple $100 a month if I'm good. $200 to $300 a month, probably somewhere in that range. Down payment of like $300-400 max. Insurance would be cheap. Everything that would be the car to get, just to get me around. That's all I need, is something that I can drive and get somewhere with. I don't have to have nice vehicles like I used to have. But I need something that's going to be reliable. If I go and buy some jalopy off of Facebook Marketplace and pay like $2,000-3,000 for it, and then it breaks, first of all, my outlay of cash is going to be even higher on a used car. I'm going to have to go to the DMV and deal with all that bullshit and paperwork myself. I get a car from a dealer, that's done. The plates, registration, all that's done. They do it. If I get the amount of money I have to lay out up front is lower. Now, if I get a good job and I've got a low car payment and the car is less than 10 grand, like $5,000 to $10,000, well, I could probably pay the entire car off in 6 months and just double down and just, really, really work at it. And all of a sudden I've got a car with the title in hand. So I've got plans. I've got different things I'm thinking of, but right now I'm just trying to focus on what's in front of me. Let's see. And so just as like a check-in, sometimes you got to check in and see, like, instead of worrying about all the crap that you can't get done or that you haven't accomplished, or, how far you haven't come or whatever. I was looking at my thing today. It's been 325 days as of today since I got released from federal prison. 325 days. Still not even a year. I'm 42 days away from the day that I can file to get early release from federal probation. From what I understand and from what I've been told by most people, your chances of getting released are a lot higher when you've served half of your probation. For me, that's a year and a half out of 3 years. I'm definitely going to file in 42 days when I'm eligible. Screw this. I'm not waiting another 6 months. But I can pretty much, unless everything goes my way, I can expect another 6 months before I have a chance of getting it dropped. But it boils down to the prosecutor, the judge, the probation officer, etc. But I paid all my fines. I followed all the rules. I never failed a drug test. I got a job. I'm doing other work. I've done all the things that I'm supposed to do. So, my chances are as good as anybody else's at that point. That's all I can. There's nothing else I can do. If I have to serve out the full 3 years of probation, I'm at 772 days. That's 12 days away from being at the point. I was in prison exactly 600 days. I don't know how it ended up being exactly 600, but I was incarcerated 600 days to the day. So I'm almost at the point where I have just as much time left on probation as I had spent in prison. I don't know, that's kind of a milestone in my mind that if I could do 600 days in jail, I can do 600 days of probation. At least I can get fresh air, ride my bicycle, go to a job, wear real clothes. I can go, I can eat food that's not jail food. Um, I mean, life is better than it was in there. So I can do it, but hopefully I don't have to do it as long. It's been 94 days as of today since I saw my probation officer. So the guy, I've been living in this place for 20 days. He's not, he wants to get this done because it's a requirement. He's required to come here and look at my place. It's not like something he can do if he wants to or not. He has to do it. But he's like not, I'm going like 3 months between having to see this guy. So he's obviously got other priorities on his caseload that, he's got other people whose ass he needs to climb up inside of, and he's staying out of mine, and that's great. Cool. I'm doing whatever I can do to keep it that way. Keep out of trouble. Do what I got to do to get through this mess. I've been in Texas 163 days. I've been in Texas longer now than I was homeless in Jamestown, New York. I think I was homeless for 115 days. I was living in an apartment for 45 days, so plus 115. That's 160 days. I'm 3 days. I've been in Texas 3 days longer than I was in Jamestown, New York, if I count the time living in that horrid apartment and the time that I was homeless. I've been in Texas longer, by 3 days. So things are starting to pick up. Things are, obviously I got a place. It's not, it's not the Taj Mahal. It's not the Ritz-Carlton. It's not Mar-a-Lago, but it'll do. It'll do the job. I've been on the rebound now for 157 days, and what I mean by that is when I got to Texas, I was a basket case. I was just completely dead, had absolutely no energy at all. I got out of the vehicle, I unloaded it in the garage. We took the vehicle back to the rental place that night because my friend and his family were going to New Orleans for like 4 or 5 days or something like that. And I sat on a couch for 5 days I basically completely caught up on the Star Wars universe. I watched Andor, I watched Ahsoka, I watched anything in Star Wars, The Mandalorian. There was a season of that I hadn't seen yet. I missed a lot of Star Wars while I was in prison, so I got all caught up. So I'm fully versed with the Star Wars universe. I even watched that horrible show, The Acolyte. Ugh, that was terrible, but I watched it. My commitment to Star Wars is, you got to sit through the bad parts just to say you did it. And so I spent 5 days just, boom, knocked out. Knocked out on a couch watching Star Wars, eating frozen pizzas and junk food. That's it. So I've been on the rebound for 157 days, which means it's 100. I've been trying to put my life back together for 157 days. Those first 5, nothing was happening. A lot of couch sitting and food eaten, and that's all that happened. That's all. And like I said, I've been in this tiny house for 20 days, and I've already got a pretty good setup. I'm comfortable here. I got, my routine. The bakery is giving me daylight only hours, so it's like my circadian rhythm is okay until they, flop the clocks back on us or spring forward or whatever it is. That's like 3 weeks of my whole body and chemistry being all screwed up after they change those clocks. But that's why they do it, because, they've got to keep the peasants completely messed up. And, the more screwed up you are from the things that they do to you and the junk in your food and the stuff they spray in the sky and everything else they're doing to us, the easier you are to rule over. So there's that. But in 20 days, I feel like I've accomplished a lot in this tiny little house. I've got I feel like I really truly feel like I don't need anything. I've got a shopping list, but it's all kind of like when I get a chance. I don't feel like any of it is mission critical at this point. I got it all done. And frankly, there's no more room in here to buy anything. So money wise, that's a blessing. Um, let's see, the Strava update, the bicycling and walking and miles of adventure. As of today, I'm at 493.1 miles. That includes walking and cycling, mostly cycling, which means I have 1,506.9 miles left to reach my goal. I'm at 246.55 miles per month on average for the first 2 months of the year. Now, tomorrow, I got to do another 42 miles. So I did the math wrong here. So 42 miles, which would leave me with, I'm going to pull up a calculator while I talk to you all. Minus 42. So that's 1,464.9 miles left. And if I do that, you divide that by 2. 700, no. Hold on. Come on. No, come on. Hold on. 493.1 by 2. So that's 246.55 miles per month. No, wait a minute. Plus the 42. I totally screwed up the math here. Plus 42 minus 2,000. So that's 1,464.9 miles left. How is that? No, that's not right. My plus 42. 535.1, 2,000 minus 535.1, 14. Okay. I totally screwed up my notes here. That would leave me, the 42 miles tomorrow should leave me at, I don't understand, 1,464.9 miles left. I got a 2,000 minus 493, 1,506.9. Okay, that's why I screwed up. All right. I've rode 493 miles so far. That would leave 1,506.9. That's an average ride of 493. That's about 246.55 miles per month. So let's say 247 miles per month. I'm going to ride 42 tomorrow. So that leaves me with 1,464.9 left. 1,465. So, that's 267.55 miles per month on average for these 2 months, which would leave me at 3,210.6 miles for the year if I continue that pace every month. But right now, if I only have 1,464.9 miles left, and I divide that by the 10 months left in the year, let's just say it's 146.49 miles per month that I've got to ride, 147 miles or so in order to reach my goal of 2,000. And so I got to ride, if I don't ride any more in the month of February after tomorrow, for the rest of the year, if I do 147 a month, I'll meet my goal. That's still, so that really doesn't tell me that anything can happen, is what that tells me. Like I said, I could get a car, I could get a job closer to home, I could get a job that I can walk to and stop going to the bakery. There's a multitude of things that can happen that'll affect how many miles I'm either walking or cycling every month. And if things stabilize more financially than they are right now, and I'm more comfortable and I could take like a vacation or something like that, I definitely could see myself going on a long distance bicycle ride, a camping trip on a bicycle when the weather is guaranteed to be warm. I do have enough gear, hammock, tarps. I got the things I need already to do that. Wouldn't have to spend any money to do it. Maybe there's a nice place to camp on a beach somewhere and I can ride my bicycle there and turn around and ride my bicycle back after a day or two on a beach, and get some miles out of it. But right now I'm not there financially. So I'm just focusing on doing whatever I got to do, whatever's necessary to make money. And it really isn't much room for doing anything fun. I really haven't done anything fun since I've been in Houston. I can't point to anything I've done since last September that was just fun. I haven't. I mean, I've hung out, I've had good times with people, but I can't say that I've done anything that was fun. And I haven't experienced anything. I haven't seen anything in Houston. I haven't taken any photographs. I haven't done anything other than work and try to put my life together. I mean, if anything, when you look at the crooks that are in charge right now, maybe one way I could put money in the bank would be to run for office. Maybe I'd have an easier time getting elected to some office, some political office, where I can turn a $100,000 a year salary into a $200 million a year income, or maybe I don't even need to run for office to do that. Turns out there's an app that will take the money that you invest in the stock market and it will automatically copy whatever the douchebag politicians are doing. And it will make the exact same investments that they make for you. So for example, you can use this app. It's called Autopilot. And you can set it up to copy Nancy Pelosi. When Nancy Pelosi sells a bunch of stock, you sell a bunch of stock in that same company. When Nancy Pelosi gobbles up a bunch of stock in some company, you gobble up a bunch of stock in the same company. They'll make the same trades that the douchebag politicians that you watch make. Because if these guys are manipulating the stock market to their own ends, there's no reason you shouldn't use it to your own advantage and copy them. So when Nancy's getting ready to pass a law that will affect a company's stock price, and she invests a bunch of money in that company before anybody knows that the law is even coming, you can too. You can invest in that same company before anybody knows that she's about to inflate the stock price of that company. It's called Autopilot. This isn't, I don't know anything about it. I've never even looked at the website. This isn't like some sort of endorsement or anything. I'm just telling you, look into it. I don't know. Maybe it sucks. The only problem I see is that from what I understand, these politicians have a 45-day window where they have to report their trades to the FEC or the government or whatever, whoever watches them, quote unquote, watches them. They're doing a really good job watching these crooks, but they got to report it to somebody and they have 45 days to do it. So in that 45 days, they might have already made their millions and then got out. And if you copy the same move that they made 45 days later, the window of opportunity from their crooked gains and schemes, the window for that might have closed in 45 days if they wait that long to report it. So, remember, think about it though. Martha Stewart went to federal prison for selling her stocks in some company when her financial advisor called her and said that she should sell them. She just took the advice of her financial advisor. And she went to prison for that because it was considered insider information that she acted on. She sold stock in a company because her financial advisor said, you might want to sell that. Something's going on over there. But Nancy Pelosi can make $200 million a year, even though she only makes $170,000 a year as a public servant, because Congressmen and women are allowed to buy and sell stocks based on the laws that they're about to vote on, and they're allowed to act on that insider information. They've written that into law, that you and I, we go to prison for that shit, but it's in the law that they're allowed to do it anytime they want. They can just manipulate, they can say, oh, we're going to invest, we're going to give a government grant of $1 billion to, Utah, or let's say Arizona, to build solar and wind farms. And then before that law is passed, or anybody even knows that they're going to do this, they can go and gobble up all the stocks in the solar and wind farm companies out there. Then they pass this law. Those companies get this big government grant. The stock price goes way up, and they pull their money out when it's high and walk away with millions of dollars. They do this shit every fucking month. That's how they make their money. That's how these fucking crooks on $170,000 a year live in a mansion that costs $300 million. And Nancy's not the only one doing it. So, all I'm saying is this is just another reason why I would love to be the guy who gets to push the button when these politicians are dragged kicking and screaming into the execution chamber. I would buy a lottery ticket if they had them, just to have a chance to be the guy who gets to push the button or flip the switch on the electric chair or whatever. And, that's not a threat. That is after they have been convicted in a court of law by a jury of their peers and sentenced to that execution by a judge, and have exhausted all of their appeals and been denied clemency by the governor or the president, depending on whether it's a federal crime or a state level crime. Just to be clear. But I still would love to be the guy to do it. But anyway, speaking of working as an electrician of sorts, I found that pair of pliers on the ground the other day when I was cycling home, and I showed it to you guys. They're a little bit rusty, but they'll clean right up. No problem. I just haven't done it yet. I looked these things up on Amazon. These pliers are $50. I found a pair of $50 pliers in great shape, just a little surface rust from laying in the road for who knows how many days. $50 pliers. Electricians' needle nose pliers, all-purpose lineman pliers, made in the USA. They like I said, the thing has a crimper. You can use it to loop wire. You can cut wire, strip wire, and you can shear bolts. There's the commonly used screws for in your electrical work, like if you're screwing screws into the wall for a new wall outlet. You can screw those screws into this thing and go like that and lop the length of the screws down if they're too long. 2 different standard size electric screws. I looked into this thing. I'm like, damn, this is a kick-ass tool for free. So I got paid $50 to ride my bike to work the other day. You know what I'm saying? I was just like, wow. And that reminds me, since we're talking about money and things like that, at the bakery, we're not allowed to take bills larger than 20. And even the $20 bills, we use a marker to make sure they're not counterfeit. And but there's a lot of counterfeit money out there. And you don't want to, we're a small business. We're not even going to, if we made change for someone with a $50 bill, we're not going to have any money in the drawer to give change to anybody else. Most people pay with credit cards at this place, but sometimes they pay with cash. Anyway, we were talking about counterfeiting at work and how easy it can be to accept a counterfeit bill and not know it. And so this is why we look for you hold it up and look for the strip, and, you use the marker on it, etc. Well, my buddy's wife found a $50 bill on the ground. And my friend gave it to me, and he was like, what do you think of this? And I'm like, something's not right. It just didn't feel right. Something didn't feel right, but it looked really It looked real. But I'm like, there's something's wrong with this. It's just not right. And I don't think I saw the strip inside of it. I'm just like, something's not right about this. I don't think it's real. And so we went to Costco one day and he hands me this. He's like, try to buy something with it. And I'm like, the fuck I am going to try to buy something with this. Get out of here. I just got out of federal prison. I'm not going back because the Secret Service came after me for counterfeiting. Fuck all that. So my buddy tries to use it. And they looked at it. They're like looking at the thing, just like I did. Called a manager over. They used the marker on it. It didn't come out the right color. He said, hands it back to us, says, sorry, man, we can't take this. You got another way to pay. Pay credit card, whatever. They let us, they didn't do anything about it. They just said, we can't take that. So we're out in the vehicle, and I'm holding this thing up to the light. I'm just like, something's not right about this thing. But it looks damn good. It wasn't like that. It wasn't that easy to figure this out. And then I see it. I'm looking at this thing, and then I look at it again, and I'm like, wait a minute. I see it right in front of me. And this was after like at least 10 people looked at this fucking thing and couldn't see it. Where it would normally say the United States of America and the block type or whatever, it says for motion picture use only. And I'm like, holy crap. It's just a movie prop. It's a movie prop. Nobody noticed this. I'm talking like 10 different people looked at this thing and was like, something's not right, but I don't know what. Because you're not looking at the words. You're not looking at it that closely, right? Now I know what to look for those. But they look realistic. I mean, really good. But it was obviously not real. I mean, the paper just didn't feel right. That was my giveaway. Something's not right. But I looked at this thing numerous times before I finally saw it. And then I show it to my friend and I'm like, look at this. But yeah, I mean, it's just a funny story about how I could have ended up back in federal prison for trying to spend a fake $50 bill. And I wasn't like, I had no idea. I didn't try to use it myself. I was like, fuck all that. I'm not doing this. You can try it, but I'm not. But you can Google this, and it is a felony for trying to spend fake movie money. And in fact, people have gone to prison for taking fake movie prop money and using it to buy shit. One person went to prison for that by spending the money to buy stuff on Facebook Marketplace. Now, I don't know the extent and the number of purchases and the amount of fraud that these people committed to actually trigger that. But fuck all that. I'm on federal probation. I don't need that shit in my life. So no, I wasn't gonna. I was looking at it, like trying to figure out what was wrong with this thing, but I'm not gonna go hand this to a fucking cashier. You're out of your fucking mind. But yeah, my best friend almost got me to commit a felony while I'm on federal probation, and thank God I didn't walk up to a cashier with that shit. And thank God the cashier just looked at it weird and gave it back to him, and we all went on our merry way. And I'm sure it got thrown away, or maybe it's just in a fucking, who knows, maybe it's just sitting around as a gag, like, look at this. Look at this thing. It's crazy. But no, instead of finding a $50 bill on the ground, I found a $50 pair of pliers. That's way better. That's an actual thing that I can use in my life. If that's a good tool. I mean, if I have to change a freaking wall outlet at some point in a better house in the future, I got the perfect tool for it. I'm not much of an electrician, but I do stuff like that. I can install things and, wire things up, and, I'm not completely unhandy when it comes to doing that kind of stuff. So a $50 pair of linesman's pliers is definitely something I'm cool with right there. That made my bike ride back and forth to work worth it. That was like $25 per ride, or $50 for one ride. I mean, getting paid to ride your bike is pretty fucking cool sometimes. I'm not making Greg LeMond or Lance Armstrong money, but it's still good, for a, I made more money picking that thing up off the ground than I made in half a day at the bakery when you come down to it. Other than that, not too much going on. I'm going to wrap this up. This is a long video. I don't know if I'm going to do one tomorrow, or I don't know when the next one will be. I'm going to be tapped out tomorrow. I know that much. I might have only enough energy to do a quick video and nothing else when I get home. Screwing around with just the incompatibility between the fitness tracker here and my phone and Strava and Garmin Connect and, MyFitnessPal and all these different apps that kind of talk to each other but don't, and that's just something that if you get into that stuff and you wear a Fitbit, but you have a GPS, you have like different devices from different brands. Maybe you got an Apple Watch, but you also got a Fitbit. An Apple Watch, you got to charge the thing every day. A Fitbit, or one of these, like this thing can last. This thing's down to 62%, and I've had it on since Sunday, and it's Friday now. This thing will last about a week, give or take, before I have to charge it again. That's way better than charging a watch every single day. I mean, it's actually, you wear it while you sleep, and it tracks all kinds of stuff for you. It just kind of gives you an idea of your health. But I'm already this thing's already glitched out with Strava, the cycling app. I've had, the apps don't talk to each other nicely. It's all just, it's one of those things that you have to give up on perfection with these devices and all these different brands, because the companies, some of the companies like Apple and Google are trying to come up with a universal format for fitness data, but each company has their own idea about what that universal format is. And so they're just making more incompatibilities with each other. So if you have an Apple Watch, a Samsung Watch, a Fitbit, and a Garmin, and you use Strava and MyFitnessPal and Garmin Connect and Fitbit, whatever their app is called, and all these different things, they talk to each other, but they don't, and they'll get screwed up, and you'll have duplicate data. And I had to clean out my Strava the other day because I had duplicate entries for the same bike ride, and it was actually counting both bike rides towards my yearly total. So I had to pick the one. I'm like, well, I'll take the one that has the heart rate data and delete the other one. But then the other one only recorded the heart rate data. Garmin didn't record the GPS on the second ride, but Strava recorded the GPS. So I've got two of the same ride, but one says 0 miles, so it's not impacting my yearly total, but it gave me my heart rate data on a graph. The other one is the GPS and the ride and the distance with no heart rate data. So the things are all over just forget about perfection there. The only thing you can really do is track your data, track your weight. You can do all these things, but don't try to set up a system where it all works perfect and it all talks to each other and it all perfectly synchronizes and all. That's a pipe dream, not worth chasing. It'll give you enough information to help you know quantitatively whether you're getting fit and whether you're losing weight and whether you're improving your fitness. It'll give you hard data to prove it, instead of you just going well, I feel better. Let's see. People were saying in the comments, somebody said, wouldn't you, back when you were homeless in Jamestown, you would have killed to have a job. So why are you complaining about riding your bicycle to and from this job so far? Well, I'm not really complaining. I'm just sharing that it's exhausting to ride 42 miles a day plus work an exhausting 8-hour shift at a back-breaking job lifting, I think I lifted 2,000 to 3,000 pounds on Monday during the course of the 8 hours, plus ran around the bakery baking and pulling things in and out of the oven and balling up cookies and all kinds of stuff. I never sit down. I mean, I took a 15-minute break in the span of 8 hours. And then got on my bicycle and rode 22 miles home. So, yeah, not too many people. How many of you are putting in that kind of a day? But back when I was in Jamestown, I said every single day I was willing to walk an hour and a half each way for a job every day. I got 2 jobs, both of which would have been an hour and a half walk each way from the homeless shelter. Both of those jobs on my first day of work fired me, quote unquote, or told me not to bother coming in because they changed their mind about the background check. Even though I was up front during the job interview and told them exactly what happened, here's what, type my name into Google. They're like, oh, that's it? That's what you did? But the decisions were made higher up than the hiring manager. The hiring managers didn't care. The HR department in some corporate office 1,000 miles away, they're the ones that pulled the plug. Whatever. But I would have been fine with walking an hour and a half each way until I could get my hands on a bicycle or get one of my bicycles fixed up or whatever the case may be. An hour and a half each way of walking is a lot worse than an hour and a half of cycling. Distance-wise, it was only 5 miles to walk the hour and a half. On a bicycle, shit, that's 15 minutes. So, a bicycle would have come in handy if I did get one of those jobs. And the homeless shelter had some bicycles you could borrow. So, if you have a job, that was the condition. So, it was possible. There were options available. And yeah, I would have done anything to have a job up there. I couldn't find one. And so I'm not complaining about riding my bicycle 42 miles a day. But to do that 5 days, almost 5 days in a row with just one day off in the middle, and some of the hectic, like Valentine's Day at a bakery is not a fun day of your life. I'll tell you that. I did it. I signed up for it. But it is what it is. Other than that, I've spent a lot of time with T-Mobile is getting just double thumbs down. The only positive thing, and it's a big one, the internet connection that I have is pretty good for what it is. It's a stable 5G internet. Speeds are acceptably fast. The upload speeds is a little bit slow. It works. It works consistently. I haven't had an outage. I haven't had glitches. Maybe just a hiccup here and there. The service itself is all right. Literally everything else to do with that company is an absolute nightmare. The app is garbage. The website's garbage. Every single thing that I have tried to do in the last month of being a customer of theirs I've had to reach out to tech support. The online chat system for their tech support disappeared. So now my option is to either phone call or Facebook, or not Facebook, Twitter. A lot of companies, now this is a tip, if you have a problem with a company, Twitter might actually be the best solution for you, because when you just find that company, go to their most recent post and complain about something so that it's right out in public view, they usually respond to you pretty quick. Now, T-Mobile has, there's been 3 times in the last week where I've done that on Twitter, and they send me a private message, and then we start conversing back and forth with a private message, and then I get the person to do whatever it was I needed to get done. The number of things that have gone wrong with that company, I couldn't even list them all, but it's just basics. Today, when I signed up for T-Mobile, I had to have my service address here where I live and my billing address at the old address, because if I have my billing address here, the debit card would reject the transaction because the zip codes won't match. So T-Mobile had that all screwed up. They had my service address as the old address. They have my billing address as the old address, which is correct. And then I go on the website to try and fix all of that. And their website, it doesn't update. It doesn't fix it. It says I have to call customer service. I'm like, get the hell out of here. So I had to go through this whole process. Now I was doing other things. I was working and just occasionally would look over at the Twitter window and see if they responded. And eventually someone said that they took care of it for me. But it was like an hour of just, having to type back and forth. But at least when you type back and forth with someone from India who doesn't really speak English, you can at least understand what they're saying back to you. You don't have to wait on hold and all that nonsense. You could do it at your own pace. What are some of the other things? Just the error message that kept showing up on the device. Haven't seen that They didn't fix anything. They didn't tell me they fixed anything. They didn't tell me why it's happening. Nothing. But I would say for the last 24 hours, I haven't seen that error message show up on my device. Even when the error message shows up on the device works. So my level of frustration's kind of, it's annoying. So once again, online chat, because it doesn't really eat into, like, I can do other things when I'm on the online chat and just check in once in a while to see what the dingbat had to say. And so maybe they did something to fix that. I don't know. Or maybe it just magically fixed itself. Maybe there was something going on and it stopped going on. I don't know. I'm supposed to get $5 off my bill for setting up automatic payments. First bill came through, didn't get my $5 discount. I'm like, it's only $5, but these people are pissing me off so much. Day after day after day, every time I turn around, I got to get a hold of them for something. So I'm like, to hell with this. I'm going to let it, I'm going to go in, I'm going to bitch them out. I'm trying to, I'd be polite up front. If they get, I get a little bit snotty with them, the stupider they get with me. It's an escalation process with me. I don't start out a jerk. But I do start out by saying, look, this is the 5th time I've had to get a hold of you in the last 10 days because of a problem that I should be able to fix myself. Now, when I signed up for the service, I signed up for auto pay from day one, before they even sent me the device. After I got the device, I set everything up. I logged into my account. Auto pay is not turned on, even though I turned it on. So I went and turned it on because I want to save my $5. And I want to make sure the bill's paid on time. I don't need to get a late notice or anything like that. I just want to, I don't want to, just make sure the money's in the bank on the day it gets paid. So the payment came through yesterday or something like that. Yesterday it was. And I look and I'm like, I didn't get my discount. So I'm back on Twitter I go. They gave me a $5 credit towards my account. Okay, fine. So my bill next month should be $5 less, as long as they give me my $5 discount again. They said they fixed it. We'll see. But it's just one thing after the next, after the next, after the next. And it's like you set something up on their website, and then you come back and find out that it's not set up. You give them an address. They're not updating the address. Anything that you do on that website is trash. It's hard to log into that website. It's hard to log into the app. I have a username, password, PIN number that I set up myself. It takes fingerprints on. I actually set up the stupid fingerprint scanner because that app is so difficult to log into that if I can go tink on the fingerprint scanner and log into it, I'll do it. I caved in and I used a fingerprint for that app just so I could log into the stupid app without going through 30 different steps. And I still can't log into the thing. It's crazy how bad their apps in their whole system. Half of the time you click on something on their website, you just get a spinning beach ball. It doesn't load. You go to order a phone, you get a message saying you have to call customer service because you can't order phones on the website. Something's broken on the website. You can't order a phone. That happened the first time I tried to order. When I signed up for the service, I started browsing up for phones before I even signed up for anything. And their website was so broken that you couldn't buy a phone on their website. And it's still like that to this day. And I'm not going to buy it. I'm already made up my mind. If I'm going to go get my own phone, I'm going to go to Verizon because I'm sick of T-Mobile already. And I know Verizon sucks too, but I'll pay a little bit more money to have two bills, but I'll be able to. There's a good and a bad side to this. The good side is I get to see which one has better customer service, and maybe Verizon has another home wireless router plan that I could ditch T-Mobile altogether and use Verizon's and get a combination bill. I can kind of test out both companies. Plus, if something goes wrong with T-Mobile right now where my cell phone and my hotspot, my household hotspot, stops working at the same time because T-Mobile goes down, bloop, I could go over to Verizon and just turn on a hotspot and use my computer and not skip a beat. Back at my old house, I used to have AT&T for my cell phone. It was the only company that you could get a signal from. And so every once in a while, I would say once in a span of 3 months, the internet would go down and it would be Armstrong Cable is having issues. And sometimes those issues could last a few hours, but I still got work to get done. So when that would happen, I'd be out in my office. I could just turn on the AT&T hotspot. I had unlimited use. I didn't have a bandwidth cap for that data plan. So I could turn on my AT&T hotspot and get really fast speeds out in my office. There was a cell phone tower pretty close to where I lived, close enough that I got full bars. And it was really fast. Sometimes the cell phone connection would be faster than the broadband. Not all the time, but it was possible. And so that always worked out in my favor, just having a backup plan. If one connection drops, jump to the other one, wait until, the cable company figures out their crap, and then come back. And just don't skip a beat and just keep doing my work. And not, don't go getting all pissy because, the internet's down and I work from home and I can't get anything done. So there's 2 reasons why doing something like that might be a good idea. And so I'm going to do that, but I'm not doing it. I got to give myself about another month before I dig into that any deeper. I don't know what challenges or problems I'm going to have when I try to do it. My credit's pretty much destroyed. So I'm like, a 15-year-old, 16-year-old kid living in the ghetto working at McDonald's probably has better credit than I have right now. So I'm just doing what I can. I'll make it happen one way or another, or Jesus, whatever he wants to do, he'll make it happen. So that's pretty much what's going on this week. This was a long video. It's a conglomerate of multiple videos that I shot throughout the 3 days, over the last 3 days. I'm going to string them all together, save it as one file, upload it. It'll probably take all night to upload. Sometime tomorrow, I'll hit the button and make it live. Peace out.